Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Kremlin and its upgraded legendary mod. This has been buffed in the recent update and massively so. As a reminder, Kremlin is definitely at its best at closer ranges, and this buff to its legendary mod makes it tankier. We get a whole nother charge of our consumables. Kremlin's dispersion profile works in such a weird way compared to standard battleships in that at long range, it's got some of the worst dispersion in the game. However, at between 10 to 13 kilometers, it crosses over to some of the best dispersion in the game. If we want to play close, we're probably going to be taking a lot of hits. And so having an extra set of consumables is extremely valuable on this ship. For one thing, the fast-acting damage control parties are limited. That 40-second cooldown on DCP is incredible for not eating a ton of fire damage and allowing you to play closer. However, damage controls are under a lot of strain these days. Submarine pings certainly aren't helping things. A lot of fire starters like Bremen and Hawaii's out there makes it rather challenging, of course. Torpedoes coming into your ship from normal destroyers, also flooding. So having an extra charge is incredible. Alongside the healing, Kremlin is just tanky by nature. The hull is absurdly well armored, small superstructure. So getting another heal feels pretty good. Broadside Vermont at 13 kilometers here, and that's going to be a double citadel. It's around 13 kilometers where Kremlin gets some of the best vertical dispersion in the game. Horizontal is still around regular battleship level at these ranges. However, vertically, it's better than even battlecruiser dispersion starting at 13 kilometers. Crazy stuff. It's still only 1.7 sigma. And of course, if you sit too long in a choke point, you're gonna eat torpedoes. Yeah, big problem there. However, nice reminder of how good this ship is at those closer ranges. Onwards to probably my best game I've ever had in Kremlin with a tank build. Broadside Napoli to start things off, 13 kilometers. It's not the best dispersion, but we'll still take the Citadel. We're gonna play very passive here to start with, okay? Eventually, this is gonna be a crazy match, but to start with, I want you to realize the matchmaker we have. There's only one destroyer on each team and one submarine. Our destroyer is north and our sub spawned middle in a division. Well, the common spawn for subs on this map is south. And if you're playing a Kremlin, you cannot play bow in on an island when there's subs in the game, especially on your flank. So we're playing a bit of a pre-kited Kremlin, and most of the enemy team is going to be down here. There's going to be Vermont, Libertad, Napolis, and of course that's submarine. Bit of a tricky flank to play on. However, we're going to try to make it work here. Kremlin has great firing angles. The ship is just absurdly well designed to tank so much incoming damage, even in open water like this. But back to this legendary mod, I used to use it all the time still, even before it gave us this extra set of consumables, because I enjoyed the better reload. It's 18% reload in the 6th upgrade slot instead of 12% like the standard reload mod gives you. I valued that. However, the range downgrade is pretty painful. 18.2 kilometers of range hurts, okay? Tier 10 meta, we all know what it's like. It is not easy to play that one. In this game, I am also playing without Conceal mod. We're running Consumables Enhancements mod to get even further duration on these consumables. So yeah, that's a 23k HP heal on a Kremlin. And we get 5 of those base now. Do you know you can get up to a 7 heal Kremlin now? Yeah, 5 heals base with this new legendary upgrade. You get a first blood with Kuzi. That's another set of consumable charges. And you get improved repair party readiness, 2 million potential damage, which in Kremlin, yeah, you're probably getting 2 million potential damage. 7 heal Kremlin. It's actually so much fun. And with that improved repair party readiness and the 2-pointer skill for AA, we're getting some pretty nice consumable cooldowns on our heals to make it much more useful. Now that is outside of our improved dispersion ranges of 10 to 13 kilometers, so that was just pure RNG into that poor Vermont. That is not normal for Kremlin. This is a ship that definitely wants to play at those closer ranges to get more consistent dispersion like that. However, Libertad pushing in, as well as a submarine on this flank, means we do need to just keep slowly pushing away, fighting retreat. How do you deal with the Libertad full sending into you, completely angled, the secondaries doing their thing to get automated damage against you? Well, this Conqueror actually is going to help us out a ton. You want to lure them in to your spawn and crossfire them, okay? Open water like this, torp them out if you got DDs. But while they're pushing angled like this, you know you're not going to do much damage to a Libertad. It is what it is. So try to deal with their support. If there's any support around, they're going to be wanting to get into secondary range. Notice how we're trying to play it around 13 kilometers away from him. I am purposefully trying to be just outside of his range to egg him on to keep pushing. We'll get a nice dev strike on that Bayard. We were noticing that he liked to slow down, and then as soon as we shot, speed up again, so we predicted for that. And again, it's RNG at these ranges, but we do eventually collect him. Libertad can use his F key, that's fine, but if he doesn't have a huge charge on his F key or on his secondaries as far as their accuracy goes with manual secondaries, they're not going to do all that much damage if he's just getting his F key after you. So that's where I'm trying to sit here. Our Conqueror is actually going to go across to our spawn to get that crossfire going. I am trying to play with my teammates here. I realize that we're down a lot of ships here. Notice? There's not a lot of ships on our team left. So it's not like we can do this fighting retreat forever. Eventually, we do need to make a stand. But this Libertad is slowly but surely pushing in enough that we're going to finally get his broadside eventually. Des Moines also trying to play aggressive. Open water Des Moines is not going to work out so well. This is exactly why I tell you guys don't push spawns. In a Libertad, you can kind of do it because that ship's crazy, but not in a Des Moines, guys. We cannot be doing this. It's helping me massively in this battle to hopefully bring things back. However, you just can't do this kind of thing, and this is what I've kind of been waiting for. The islands next to us are preventing some crossfire from that Vermont, from the GK, from the Benson. We're still trying to isolate fights a lot of the time, but this is a great example of a fighting retreat Kremlin, and this improved reload making it very difficult for these enemies to find an opportunity to turn away or go dark. I really am valuing this little bit extra reload we gain on the legendary mod. And while that was always the case, it's really nice to have a benefit for playing at such close ranges with this reduced range thanks to the downside of this legendary upgrade. Gaining the extra heals and damage controls really helps support this more aggressive playstyle, and I really like it for that. Now, should you run Sibir or Kremlin if you have the choice? That is a tougher decision. The problem with Kremlin is that it does not get all of its healing right away. Up front, Sibir gets all of its possible healing. Libertad finally goes down. Look at where our Conqueror is. Played it perfectly, went out to the flank, and caught his broadside. Now we're going to do some more standard bow-in tanking here, and crucially, we have prop mod. We'll talk about Sibir in a second, but I need to point out prop mod here. Full tank build, surely you would want damage control mod for reduced fire duration, right? Well, no. Kremlin has incredible built-in acceleration. The engine power on this ship is absurd. So there's a carrier strike coming in directly on our flank. We're stationary, slowing down stationary, and we're going to reverse and actually dodge this strike. He did not get as close as he possibly could have, but maybe our AA was doing enough there to make him think he needed to drop early. We're actually going to dodge that torp strike. Now, that's not a perfect example because obviously the carrier can just drop it on our forehead and there's nothing we can do. But for incoming fire from HE and AP at ranges, I love having prop mod. Poor GK dealing with a Kremlin in a Brawl. He's got such a massive superstructure. You see how much damage we're doing to his superstructure? He's doing such little damage to us. We can shoot our rear turrets, no problem. GK to fire his rear turrets has to go flat broadside onto us. We are just a way better version of a GK at these closer ranges. And sure, he's got secondaries, but they're not doing much. GK secondaries are not good these days. Look at the damage into the superstructure. That's a brawling battleship from 2017. Can you believe it? We used to think that thing was crazy in a Brawl. Anyways, Sibir is a better version of this ship if you're not getting through all of your heals. That's the key here. And I think it's going to be easier to use as a result. We're getting some nice cooldown reduction, though, thanks to the planes in the vicinity. 6.6 kilometers of range on the AA also means getting a small benefit there. Little faster cooldowns, thanks to the planes more often being around you. As well as, I think Sibir's secondaries are a big deal in helping you to deal with destroyers that are very scary. The torps hurt a lot. Even though we have some of the best torp protection in the game, you don't heal back a lot of that torpedo damage. And if we're a little bit focused on how much healing we have and how tanky we are, taking that permanent damage does not feel so good. Benson here at very low HP, and thanks to Adrenaline Rush and this legendary upgrade, we're reloaded just in time to get one shell over. The destined shell actually hits him, but it's not enough to take him out. The Conqueror, though, is on the case. Thank you, Mr. Conqueror. This game would have looked a lot different without a few of my teammates, and I do need to call that out. Conqueror helped us out an absolute ton. Should I use my heal here or not? Because remember, it's not just a 7 heal Kremlin if you get first blood. Here we're running a 6 heal Kremlin because I did not get that first blood. We have Kuzi. We have Kuznetsov, the special commander. On low HP, 10% HP, you get a heal. And it's nice to pair that with one of your own built-in heals, and that way you aren't as likely to die while that Kuznetsov heal is going off. But in this case, we have 2 of them left, so I decided to use one. We also need to just get going. Look at the score at this moment. We've brought it back. The number of ships, it's a 3v3. Although the enemy team has a submarine and a carrier as a part of those 3v3. Now, you may have different opinions than me on subs and carriers, but one thing we can certainly agree on is subs and carriers can dictate when they engage. And honestly, they could just choose to never be spotted. Oh, okay, that's how this is gonna go then. I had very little hope of our team coming back in this one when I saw the 3v3 against the sub and carrier, but hey, I'll take it. The carrier is indeed going to just push in and give us a free kill. We're going to try and take the C cap as well, as points are a big deal here. Now we're close to 3 million potential damage in this one. And while that's not the most insane potential damage figure for a Kremlin, the amount of actual damage we've been able to heal through from whether it be secondaries, whether it be submarine torpedoes coming at us, some of the HE spam, the extra heal's been very useful, I think. Having 1 extra heal here is massive. Especially in games like this one where we're actually in a close battle for the very end of the game and we need that extra heal. It is worth mentioning that a lot of games are blowouts these days, so that extra consumable set may not be as useful to you. You have to burn through a lot of these heals, and that's a long cooldown. It's a standard 80-second cooldown on these heals, so to get to that last one can be a little tricky. Yes, we leave them on like 10 HP, but we do manage to actually take out the carrier with our secondaries. A little risky to wait for the carrier drop to actually get us that Kuznetsov proc, but we do. And I combine it with that last heal for a pretty massive combined final HP total. Big hits in on the key here at the very end. We need to get this cap. And even then, time is running out. We could even get the AA Expert achievement, although you saw he was still running full squads out at us. That's a tier 8 carrier, by the way. I won't talk as much about the balance of that, but interesting. A Defense Expert achievement and a tier 8, 2 tiers lower than us, still running full squads. Interesting balance. We don't quite manage to get the Citadels on the key to finish them off, but that's okay. We will take this cap and look at the points. We're tied. We're exactly tied, except their caps tick before ours. So if everything stays the same, they win. How insane is that? I have not had a game this close in forever, and it's still the sub left alive. How are we going to deal with this? Well, it's on our poor NC. This entire battle, everything up to now, win or loss, it's on the North Carolina. Can he clutch it out? He dodges the first set of sub-torps. He's got to live another 2 minutes, by the way, for us to win this one. So we're going to comp him, and honestly, well played to this NC. And the Conqueror, too. Seriously, we would not have been anywhere near a win without all of our teammates here. And we're going to get in the cap to stall it out. So we're ahead on points. But if our NC goes down, we definitely lose because there's too many points. We can't catch back up. But we will win. Our NC managed to live like the Chad he is and win us this game. Tank build Kremlin is kind of nasty, man. It's a really, really fun to have something so tanky that you can still push in. And you don't need some crazy gimmick like Valparaiso or something like that. Just a good old standard battleship tank playstyle. You can have huge impact doing that. Really, really happy to see that. I'm loving this build. But what happens then if we choose to go DPM Kremlin? Yes, you're seeing that right. That is going to be reload buff from enemy ships within our secondary range. That's a 10% buff. What about running Furious as well for another 10% buff? I got Kremlin down to like an 18-second reload here, including some Adrenaline Rush. Hey, legendary mod buffs are reload, so may as well go all in on it, right? If you're going to play this sort of play style all in like this, probably better to go severe, let's be honest. Having those extra secondaries to munch through these poor little destroyers at close range is going to be extremely valuable. That is certainly a weakness of Kremlin. Fortunately, our teammates here able to help us out on that gearing. And while Kremlin has some great close quarters dispersion, Sabir gets that F key to give you some crazy accuracy at close range because that F key charges off of secondary hits. So in a similar way, Sabir feels like it has crazy close quarters dispersion because you're always getting that F key. I think it's a little more consistent too on that F key. However, you just don't have the total healing that Kremlin does. And that's going to be the main difference here. They're both going to troll you from time to time. They're both going to give you some laser salvos at close range. Sabir gives you that incredible pressure that the closer range secondaries provide. And it gives you the ease of use of knowing that you don't have to wait through many 80-second heal cooldown, or at least the base cooldown of 80 seconds, to get through all of your healing, or even to match Sabir's level of healing. You still need to get through 4 heals, I believe, to get to Sabir's healing that it just gets on spawn. So that's a pretty massive advantage in Sabir's favor. The total healing, though, is certainly less, and the average salvo on Kremlin is going to be a little bit better. But for the most part in random battles, I do think Sabir is just going to be a lot better in these situations. A lot stronger ship in most cases. However, maybe in clan battles or like Kings of the Sea type events, a lot of those I remember playing where we wanted a more mid-range tank battleship. You're not getting in secondary range there very often. So having the greater total HP pool, healing through, that kind of thing is going to be more valuable there, alongside a little bit more consistent dispersion if you're not charging that F key. Brawls, ranked, randoms, where you're kind of playing solo, full sending in. Yeah, that's definitely Sabir territory. But Kremlin, if you don't have a Sabir and you want to play all-in brawling Kremlin, it's an absolute blast. Definitely recommend, if you've been playing your Kremlin, get this legendary upgrade. Great turret traverse too, by the way. Kremlin already has that base, but when you're not taking the reload mod, which has a penalty to turret traverse, well, you actually do have better turret traverse here with legendary upgrade. Faster reload, better turret traverse, and now +1 consumable at the cost of some range. I think that is well worth it. Just a straight up buff to Kremlin, which feels a little weird, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel weird that a legendary unique upgrade that you got to spend a bunch of research points on, 20k research points, that isn't even unlocked to newer players until they get 5 tier 10s? That's the way you get the most powerful version of your ship? That doesn't feel right to me. Just wargaming, maybe we should continue these as side grades to alternate playstyles rather than just purely making them better than the stock ship. That feels weird to me. I know there's a downside here of a tiny bit of range, but let's be honest, Kremlin is not wanting to play at those 20-kilometer ranges anyway. How you should be playing Kremlin is always going to be within the range of the legendary upgrade. And this extra consumable is very nice, but that just straight up 6% better reload compared to reload mod. And you don't have the turret traverse penalty. I see those as the main benefits most of the time. You notice in this game that we're not getting to our later heals. We still have to get our third heal, or another heal, from our potential damage, 2 million potential damage. This game's not going to last long enough for us to get through all of them, right? So that +1 consumable is nice, but not as impactful in the average game. And there's many more of these changes to unique upgrades that we're going to take a look at throughout this update. But I was very excited to play the Kremlin one, take out a good brawling battleship again, and have some fun at close range. I certainly did have a great time playing Kremlin here. I'm just a little bit worried about the design decisions of unique upgrades being the way we're buffing ships. Colombo was crazy. I think that ship is probably still going to be crazy, let's be honest with you. And the older designs being massive downsides on ships to gain a certain buff was a cool concept, I thought. But in this case, it feels like they are just making them into buffed versions of the ship, which means that more experienced players are going to be the ones that have access to those buffed versions. And are they balancing ships around their unique upgrade then? Suddenly we're getting balance changes based on you have to have the unique upgrade to see the entire power level of the ship? That feels very weird to me. I think they should be alternative ways to play the ship, not just, oh, the ship plays better, you know? Well, you'll have to let me know what you think in the comments down below about that, as well as the Kremlin Legendary mod. Have you been running it on your Kremlin? I would recommend you try it if you haven't yet in this new patch. I really am enjoying it. Here's the build that I was running. The upgrades here looked like this. Yeah, that extra reload is so nice alongside +1 consumable now. 5 base heals on Kremlin. You're guaranteed all 5 now. That's really cool. 12% better reload versus 18% reload. Is it worth taking the 12% worse range versus 13% worse turret traverse? I think so, personally. I really do just see this as a pure upgrade on Kremlin. Maybe there's some situations it's not. I mean, 18-2 is not a lot of range, but Kremlin is so tanky that it can just survive there. In fact, I was so confident in how tanky it was that I did not pick up concealment. I went consumables mod for even longer duration on these heals. More healing, longer duration on the damage controls as well. It was really fun to have. Although, it's just better to run concealment, guys. Okay, it is. But I was running that consumables enhancements mod. It was really fun to use that way. Here's what I was running in the last game to run that full reload meme of close quarters combat and furious to get me that sub 20 second 18-second reload on Kremlin. Wild stuff. Usually has a greater than 30-second reload. Insane how much you can buff that with the right build. However, you lose a lot in tankiness and concealment, so a more normal build would look something like this. And this is what I was running in that E game, the second one that I showed you guys, the full match. This is what I was running there. That's how we got such insane tankiness and survivability. It's pretty easy to get the improved repair party readiness, and alongside a defense and ASW expert, you can actually get through your heals relatively quickly. Fire prevention is still well worth it, as is concealment expert. We could look for things like super heavy AP Furious to kind of mess around here a little bit more, but running a full standard tank build, I mean, Kremlin is one of the absolute tankiest ships in the entire game. Look at this armor profile. Well, worth mentioning that Sibir's armor on its deck armor is 40 millimeters, not 60. And a lot of airstrikes and some HE can certainly get through that these days. So a key advantage there in the just overall tankiness of Kremlin versus Sibir. It's not just as simple as all the healing up front is on Sibir. It does have a small downside there. Not too much, though. The ship is ridiculously tanky, and the guns perform very well at those closer ranges. With the legendary upgrade, you do get a lot of opportunities to fire your guns too, thanks to the reload being so quick. I like it a lot. I'm not so sure about them being just straight upgrades, though. That feels very weird to me. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.